could have given up, but you didn't. You could have stopped believing, but you didn't. You could have kept living their expectations, but you decided to make this life your own. And in turn, you're here. Hello, everyone. Today we're meeting Bob DePasquale. He's an author, a speaker, and a podcast host. Hello, Bob. Thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure to be here, Anna. How are you?
Great. And let's start a conversation with diving into your personal journey of becoming the person you are today. So, how did you start with exploring what is the true passion for you in life, and what did lead you to become that person?
Well, I had a very unique experience when I was just 18, and that really led me to where I am today. And I don't, mean that in a cliche way. It really has been a journey. So I've been led. It's not something that, I think people have life-changing experiences, but the change doesn't happen immediately. The experience might happen abruptly or in a short period of time, but the journey takes quite a while. And so for me, I wouldn't be alive today if it wasn't for some extremely generous acts back when I was 18. And I can tell you the story about it. But to answer your question, the things that happened to me at that point they gave me a different perspective on life. And over the past couple of decades or so, I've been learning and thinking about that and working through the emotions. And it's been quite a journey. But I believe strongly that we all have an innate desire as humans to care for others and to be generous. And it's unfortunate that sometimes in today's world, I don't think we're told that message, and we're told that we need more and we're not good enough and we're not capable of supporting other people because we need help ourselves. And the reality is, or the fact is we all do need help. We could not survive without each other. So I think it's important that we consider generosity, and we keep that mindset in all that we do, within our families and our faith communities, and certainly in our work environments as well. In fact, I speak to organizations about the power of a generous culture and how it's actually good business to be generous. So that's my worldview, if you will. My purpose is to spread the message of generosity, and I believe that it can really make the world a better place.
That's beautiful. I think being generous is probably a skill for some people to develop as they move along in their journey. But do you think there are some practices, like in terms of daily habits, that people could start doing even right now to develop that kind of desire or feeling, which will come in naturally? But first, they have to kind of start with changing their mindset and utilizing those type of tools or techniques. Maybe they can start even today, take that step towards the goal that they're trying to achieve.
Yes. In fact, I put out a social media post talking about the difference between consistency and momentum. And the first thing I will tell you is consistency is a good thing. And there are specific habits that you can do. And there's actually there's a lot of habits you can try to develop. But yet the key though is you have to find which ones are most effective for you. And so one of the ones that works for me is I spend a short period of time every morning, 5 minutes or less, of expressing gratitude and the things that I think are meaningful in my life. And the first thing that often comes to mind, it's not always the same things every day, but the first thing that often comes to mind is just the ability to be alive. Because I mentioned when I was 18, I almost lost my life, and the opportunity to just take a breath and wake up every morning is such a blessing. And so I have a short period of gratitude time every morning, and it's a great habit for me. And if I don't have that time in the morning, I feel like there's something missing for my day. So it really truly is a habit. So that's one thing. Another thing that I like to talk about is documentation, or writing things down. It's proven that when you write things down, they're easier to remember. They stay more top of mind, and you're more likely to examine them and to think more deeply about them. So I used to be one of those type of people who said, I'm not really a thoughtful, deep thinker type of person. I just do. I'm ready, fire, aim type A personality who wants to attack before I strategize. And I still do that. It's still part of my personality, but writing things down has helped me be more thoughtful about the things that are most meaningful in my life. I don't expect everyone to be an author or a journalist or like that. I happen to be trained in journalism, but if you can just take the most important things, the things that are top of mind, and document them, write them down, or it could even be on your phone. That's why I've changed over the past couple of years from saying writing things down to documentation. I still think there are additional benefits to actually writing them out with a pen or a pencil on a piece of paper. But if that's not you, even just documenting them, like I said, in your phone or on your computer or a digital space can really help you remember the things that are most important. So the things that are related to your habits and your goals, write them down and refer to them on occasion. Come back to them and review them. They can even be a tool to help you with your gratitude practice. If you want to write down the things that you're grateful for, you can address that sheet in the morning. Or if it's a practice that you want to do in the evening, I've noticed other people have different times of day. So those are two habits that I think of that can really help you consider what is most important and be more grateful for what you have. And the more you feel like you have, and the more abundance you feel that you have, I think the more generous you can be with your time, your talents, and your treasures. So I mentioned consistency. So if you can master consistency on those effective things, I think you can then build momentum. And consistency, I like to think of as an addition formula. It's stacking things that you do over and over and over again. And now you have to be careful with consistency. You want to make sure that it is effective, as I mentioned, because if you're consistently doing something that's ineffective, you can either hurt yourself, or you can just kind of be status quo. And you may have heard, anyone listening out there or watching who understands the definition of insanity being doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. But momentum, I like to think of as a multiplication problem. So consistency, addition, momentum, multiplication. And it's a multiplication problem. It's the product of that effectiveness of those consistent habits that you have. It's the product of the effectiveness and the given period of time in which you're being consistent with something. So for example, if I have gratitude time every day, that means that period of time is daily. So the momentum factor on the gratitude time is how effective is it? And I believe it's very effective. And then every day. So now on every day, I'm building that momentum. So that's why I believe momentum is a multiplication factor. So really important to consider those things. I hope that answers your question, but those are some things that help me continue to improve along this journey that we've been speaking of.
Right. And like you mentioned, gratitude, every single day we have to find time in our calendar, either in the morning when we wake up or before we go to bed. Everybody can find 5-10 minutes on a daily basis to express that gratitude towards anything in your life. You just speak anything that you're grateful for, and it's always something that you can come up with. But practicing that every single day, and eventually over time, like you say, you build momentum of that different type of energy, in you, around you, and it will affect the way you approach things, or, being open to other opportunities as well. And eventually, if you become generous and, willing to kind of give back, and that's when I think will be the most benefit to you to achieve that place. But it will take some time, and with you doing like repetitive steps and kind of like feeling that this is part of you now, it's not requiring any effort over time. Now this is who you are, and that's when you become different.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think
Absolutely.
so?
Absolutely. Completely agree. Those are the things that set you apart. And, everyone's habits and momentum and consistency is going to be different. There's no perfect formula. There's no exact activity for everyone that works. It's a matter of figuring out your own priorities and the way your own mind works, and understanding what systems are best for you. And I can suggest a million systems, but you have to do the work to figure out which ones work for you.
Right. Yeah, and like you have a background in financial planning, I know,
Mhm.
and you recently launched a book. Can you elaborate more of the purpose of that book and what are the tools that in there that could help people to become a good financial planner in their own personal life?
Sure, sure. And it was really a pleasure and opportunity to write this book. I worked for many years working for a large financial organization, and they were a very generous company. They encourage people to be givers of not only of their money, but of their time and their resources, other resources too. And a couple of years ago, during the pandemic, my business partner and I, who was my colleague at the time, had this kind of impromptu conversation, and we decided that we were going to leave the organization, not because we didn't like the people there or we didn't like working there. We were getting asked to do some things that we just couldn't do in that business model. So we thought, what better time than during a pandemic where we can't even leave the house? Let's start a business. Some people thought we were crazy, but we did. And I bring that up because once we started that business, I realized I had more opportunities to do media, podcasts like this, television, radio, writing a book. Those type of things were suddenly available to me. And so with the combination of that, plus realizing there was a lot of things messages that I wanted to share with the masses about what I had learned about personal finance and people and the psychology behind it. And the book is really about how digital media and social technology affect our money decisions. And so when you ask what are the lessons and things that you can learn from the book, it's really dedicated to help people using the technology that we have today wisely to make good financial decisions. Because I think in a lot of cases it can be used for negative, and technology gets a bad rap in a lot of cases because it is overwhelming and it overstimulates us. One of the stats that I found when I was writing the book is that over 2,100 times per day we interact with our devices. And I was like, wow, there's a book about this. I mean, there's a lot to learn about that. And I thought I was going to spew out all this financial knowledge. When I found out, though, I got some really good advice when I was writing the book, that it's not about what you know, it's about what you want to know. In other words, curiosity is the driving force behind good literature. And so I had to do a lot of research, and I took my little bit of knowledge about finance and I combined it with a whole bunch of knowledge about psychology and technology that I had to learn about. And I think you'd be surprised. I don't want to spoil the book for anyone who's interested in reading it, but without completely spoiling it, I will tell you that the ultimate message of the book turned out a little bit different than I expected. It wasn't strictly here's all the ways to make and save a lot of money. Those things are certainly important, but that wasn't the ultimate message of the book. And so each of the middle section of the book is a chapter dedicated to a different topic in personal finance and how to use technology for good in that area of your life, whether that's budgeting, saving money, insurance, lending or borrowing money, investing it, cryptocurrency, retirement benefits, how to purchase insurance, or how to use technology to find the right professional planner in the financial space for you and your family. So each of those topics is covered, and there are tips and I don't want to say tricks because I don't think there's ever any tricks in the financial space, but there's tips and pointers on how to use technology to help you manage those things by yourself. And then ultimately in the end, I think you'll find that it's not just money that we need to manage well in our lives.
Right. And also with knowledge in this book, I think people will look at their money management skills differently, and maybe they will start prioritizing different things in their life to kind of like know where this money mindset coming from in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to realize it's our relationship with money also that we need to kind of look into, and how healthy is it, because sometimes people cannot manage money because due to certain type of trauma, let's say, like happened in their life. But also, we don't realize that this is kind of reflected to other areas of our life as well, especially like with the relationship to money and managing it and making the right financial decisions in the end. So I think
I completely agree. I completely agree. The relationship you have with your money is drastically more important than the amount of money that you actually have. Over the years, I mean, I've worked with thousands of families on their finances, and overwhelmingly, the ones who have the greatest relationship and understanding of the role that money plays in their life are the ones who are the most fulfilled, the ones who are the most happy, the ones that are the most successful by their own definition. And I've seen some families with lots and lots of money who have a terrible relationship with it in a really rough spot in their life. Then I've also worked with some people who live by very, very modest means. They have a very, very low income, but it's enough to satisfy what they need. And they come at it from an abundance mindset, and their relationship with money is tremendous. And that leads to a very, very successful and fulfilling life.
Yes, abundance mindset, it's not just about money, but also relationship with other people, your willingness to give, like first being a giver, and then, you'll see how your life could transform. And it's kind of like a byproduct of you receiving that money in the end. But first you have to work on yourself and how you have that relationship established, earlier. And maybe if something needs to be changed, then you have to kind of work on that first, because this is the root of the problem that you're experiencing towards financial situation in your life. But with having that generosity mindset, again, it comes back to appreciating what we have now. And like some people could experience any type of like trauma or incident anywhere in the world. You never know when it's going to happen or if it's going to happen and how long you have like to live. So you have to appreciate what you have right now, here, today, in this single moment, and knowing that what you have is enough. And with you like really enjoying that moment fully and knowing that everything that you have is here, then you have a different view on your life and you appreciate it more. And this is kind of like important to show people that it should be their priority to really find a place in their life when they could appreciate everything today.
Appreciation is such a powerful, powerful tool in our life. And I use the word tool specifically because the way you use appreciation can really affect your life. I mean, you can use it in a bad way too, but if you can appreciate the things that you do have for good, that do good things in your life, that's what you go back to the gratitude practice that we talked about. That's really, really important. I've dedicated much of my life to focusing on generosity. I've studied it from a scientific perspective, but I've also got numerous anecdotal stories in my life that are revolve around the appreciation of what I do have or what other people do have. And it definitely leads to a more generous mindset. And it's absolutely contagious. I mean, scientifically proven about hormones and the good feelings that you get when you experience generous acts, whether you're the giver, the receiver, or just someone who watched it, who saw a generous act. I mean, that's why there's videos all over the internet of really kind, compassionate things, and they get all kinds of views because it makes people feel good. So the generous mindset is a direct result of appreciation and gratitude, because you know how valuable it is to have the basic needs of life. And then when you feel that and you see people who may not have that or may be going through a rough time, it's almost like you couldn't imagine not helping people or not being generous. And that's really what it's all about. And it's it's an amazingly positive cycle to get your mind in. I mean, the generous mindset is not it's not about incredible amounts of innovation and wisdom and intelligence and knowledge. It's actually a cycle. And once you get in that cycle, it's pretty easy to see the repetitive nature of giving and generosity, because you'll see it come back to you, and then you'll pass it on to someone else, and then before you know it, it'll come back to you again, and it'll happen over and over again, and you'll start to realize, wow, it's not that complicated. I don't have to be a rocket scientist to live with a generous mindset.
Yeah, I wish it could be taught like in school, so everybody would know what's important. And yeah, like if we bring ourselves in that cycle, that will repeatedly bring us good over time. It's just we will feel like this is normal state, because sometimes people see their normal as like struggle and suffering, this negative type of emotion, and they think this is what it is in the life that they could get, but there is more to it that maybe people didn't experience yet, but there is a way to get there. And with us starting today, incorporating certain habits over time, there is, it's proven that you can be there. So if one person kind of like achieved it, so you can do it too. So there is nothing that could stop you, really. It's your decision. Is it something you want in your life? If you want to kind of like always feel fulfilled and joyful, and have yourself, like establish for yourself something that is important, and try to achieve those certain steps to get to your goal, to get to your destination. But you have to also enjoy it along the way. You cannot just know that I'll be happy when, but start feeling it today as if you already have it, right? It's just you kind of being in the process and experience it like every single moment.
I agree. The experiences that we have on a day-to-day basis can be tremendously fulfilling and joyful if you take the time to think about them, and to believe that that those things are important in life, right? I mean, there's just like even sitting down to a meal. I mean, this might sound crazy, but we'll probably finish this recording here in a little bit, and where I am, it's almost, and where you are too in New York, there, it's almost time for lunch, right? And I mean, even just the ability to sit down and have something to eat. I mean, what a cool thing, How many times have I, over the years, rushed through my lunch or even my dinner or my breakfast, ate it on the run, in the car, traveling somewhere, and really not had a chance to enjoy it, And I think that piles on, negative habits, right? Because, the little things don't give you enough joy. So then you have to reach for more and more complicated things, and it makes your life, it makes it a rush, and the immediacy of today is challenging. I think there's great things about technology tools, like I wrote about in my book. It can be used for great things, but in some cases, it can make the mind believe that the simple is not good enough. And I am determined, after we have this conversation, to go sit down and just sit there and enjoy my lunch, and just be happy that I have a chance to eat something, and maybe do something a little bit mindless, but not too distracting from actually eating. So, we all have to eat out there. So if you're looking for something to be grateful for, maybe start with that, so start with being present in the moment during your mealtime. I think it can be a powerful force in life.
Right. So let's just enjoy that we have that opportunity to be here today and experience those simple moments in our lives, like eating, interacting with people, saying, something good to like strangers, maybe just saying thank you, kind of like those small acts that you do. And also appreciate like what you have now,
Mhm.
and for you being healthy and kind of having people in your life. So everything starts changing around you, and you will see things differently, in more like
Mhm.
vibrant colors.
Yeah. I I I like to consider myself a pretty eclectic learner. I like to do some reading. I like to do some listening. I definitely love hands-on kinesthetic type of things. Uh, if you learn how you learn the best, if you know the way that you like to take information in, I mean, lean into that, lean into those things. If you know you like to read, then read more, and appreciate that opportunity to sit there and read. If you're a podcast listener, or if you would prefer to watch something and learn about it, I mean, take those things in and really, really appreciate those opportunities to do that sort of stuff. We suggested eating, we suggested gratitude time. You mentioned just interacting with other people. One of my favorite things to do is we don't have a dog. I want to get a dog. My wife and I have been talking about it for a while. So we don't have the opportunity to walk around the neighborhood and meet neighbors because we're walking our dogs, or we don't have children either. So one of my favorite things to do is actually go walk through the neighborhood and just say hi to people. I mean, and in some cases it's sad because I think they're so surprised that someone would actually say something to them. But it's such a nice practice. I mean, it's such a simple act of generosity just to greet someone and say hello. That I fear that we've missed that. It's a lost art in society just to greet someone and wish them a good day. So, there's another suggestion. I mean, we're coming up with all kinds of good suggestions here to help people be a little bit more grateful for the world.
Yes, that's a great suggestion. And sometimes doing things unexpectedly and, without something that you want in return from that person, just simple like acts of kindness that you can do and make it a habit as well. And, you never know that it will come back eventually, even like in a greater kind of power to you from a different source to you, but you will experience your acts of greatness in much bigger way, and eventually you will get into that cycle where it just becomes part of who you are.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Having that positive cycle is powerful, powerful source. And remember what I was talking about earlier: consistency and momentum. Find the things that you can do effectively, consistent, and then build momentum from there. It's really, really powerful. So if you get in that generous mindset cycle, I mean, you're being consistently generous because you're in the cycle, and then you'll find that the momentum will build, and you'll start cycling through the cycle. Not to double up on the terms there, but you'll move through that cycle even faster. You'll find yourself having more opportunities to be generous, and you'll find yourself being the receiver, if you will, on the end of generous acts more frequently too. So yeah, it definitely speeds up. I think you make a good point. You almost can't even jump off the bandwagon, which is great. Why would you ever want to jump off once you get there? Trust me, you won't. Once you're in generous mindset, you won't want to leave.
Yes, definitely. And I hope, more people will join us in that cycle. So every one of us can, kind of like be the best they can be and
Mhm.
give what they have to the world, because that's what matters.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. I love it. I love the conversation. And, I hope people out there, don't feel overwhelmed. Like this is something that takes a lot of work, or you have to, or they say, oh, Bob, you said you've been working at this for 20 years. It doesn't take that long to build momentum. I'm just letting you know that I'm not perfect and I'm always working at it. It's taken me a while. But you might consider yourself the most selfish person who has not an ounce of generosity in their body. I tell you, as soon as this podcast is over, you can start building some consistency and momentum. I mean, it can happen really, really quick, just with little simple things.
Yes. And I'm so glad we had that conversation. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and thoughts. And I'll put the link to the book to the episode description so people can look into detail. And thank you so much. Enjoy your meal, by the way. I know you will.
I will. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to be appreciative, give thanks. If you live over in the States here, Thanksgiving is not the only day of the year to give thanks. So I'll be doing that today, and I hope you enjoy your afternoon as well, Anna. And it's been quite a pleasure. Keep up the great work.
Thank you. Bye. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, hit the subscribe button and share it with others. Stay tuned.